Now, Israel's pager attack on Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon, brilliant move, but it sure has woken up a lot of people to one danger. Your electronic gear can be turned into a weapon against you if it's connected to the internet or a phone or GPS, and that includes your electric car. Now, in the United States, the Commerce Secretary there has said she wants to ban software installed in Chinese-made cars because of risks to national security. But what are we doing about it? Well, reports today that the federal government has been warned of the security risk from Chinese electric vehicle software. Alison McGibbon, who used to be our national cybersecurity advisor, actually said, we will be on the wrong side of history as a country if we don't act now. This is not about whether something is manufactured in China. Well, I think it is a bit to do with that. It's about whether it requires a constant connection with China to function. Joining me is Paul Gover, former car racer, one of our most experienced motoring journalists, even inducted into the Supercars Media Hall of Fame, which kills me every time to say that because it makes me so jealous. But anyway, Paul Gover, lovely to see you again. What is supposedly the danger from Chinese electric cars?
Well, the first thing we need to get straight, Andrew, it's not just electric cars, it's anything made in China. And the problem with it is, if you think about the amount of brain power that's in your mobile phone, it's orders of magnitude higher in an electric car and more, well, any car these days really, because of what they call over-the-air updates. Now, this is the same as when your phone automatically updates its software overnight. Lots and lots of cars have these sort of systems in them. But obviously, if we can't have Huawei looking after our mobile phone network, how can we trust that what's happening with cars coming from China is any different?
And what could they do?
Well, I mean, we were joking about this 12 months ago. A good friend of mine and I, Roland Dane, he spent a lot of time in Asia, and he said, imagine that somebody in China one day decided that all the cars that had come out of China, you just pushed a button and made them all drive in Australia at 20 kilometres an hour, or told them all to stop. Now, that sounds fanciful and it's alarmist, but we don't know is the honest answer. We don't know what these cars can do because there are so many functions now which are updated electronically from a remote base. We know that BMW, for instance, and I'm not saying there's any security threat from BMWs, but they have a whole lot of functions built into the car, and you pay a subscription, they turn them on and off remotely. So you have no control over the software in the car that's giving you those functions. We don't know what functions are in Chinese-built cars that are coming to our roads. And the other thing is, Chinese cars, generally speaking, are flooding into Australia at the moment. 6 new brands coming here before the end of the year, Andrew. I can barely keep up. And the other thing is, on the electric car front, they're getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So politicians in Canberra can say, oh, well, this is good because we've got a cost of living crisis and cheap cars is good, without thinking where they're coming from or what the implications might be.
Well, there's the other issue too. They say we need to get to net zero. We need to be driving electric cars, no more petrol cars. So they would actually welcome the very thing that endangers us, not for the first time. What should we do about it?
I think we should look at what the Americans are doing and piggyback off the research. They're obviously going to do research on that sort of stuff, but our own cybersecurity people should be able to do this, find out what can be altered, what's coming in over the air. And while we're at it, let's also have a look at the trading situation. Some of the Chinese brands have dropped their prices in Australia by thousands of dollars this year because there's a price war going on with startup Chinese brands. How can they do that? We don't understand what the economics are of the cars coming here. I talked to somebody in the motor industry, not exactly in the car area, but he has heard from his contacts in China that there's a $1,500 bounty on caravans coming to Australia from China. Why is that not being looked into? 500 people working in the caravan industry in Australia, their jobs are under a threat. We're doing nothing.
It seems that China is trying to dominate the world market. I wouldn't be surprised if they're, using government subsidies to try and destroy Western competition. I see that sales in Europe of electric cars locally made have fallen so much, down 18% just last month, that their car industry is demanding the European Union weaken its emission laws before the companies go broke. So what is happening to the EV industry here?
Well, basically, EVs, pure battery electric vehicles, demand has fallen by more than 20% since the start of the year. Now, the electric vehicle lobby will tell you they're delivering them in record numbers, and they are, but they've come off the crest of a wave. What's selling really well here now are hybrid cars, not battery electric, so they don't have the limitations. They don't have, I mean, I could sit here for an hour and talk to you about all the problems with converting the whole fleet to electric, but basically hybrid cars are going ahead in huge numbers, and they're not all coming from China. Toyota does very good. Everything that Toyota is going to sell in Australia in the future is going to have a hybrid power plant. So there's a lot of change happening. It's very early to pick a trend, but what I can tell you is the Chinese are using Australia as a test market, just the same as the Koreans did before they went to the USA, just before the Japanese did before they went to the USA. Australia is a very convenient Western test market, and car companies have a history of doing stuff here and then migrating it somewhere else. So the Chinese are out to dominate in Australia. And one of the brands, BYD, has said that they tend to be a number 3 brand in Australia inside 5 years. Now, how are they going to do that?
Well,
they're going to flood the market with new models and tight prices.
Paul Gover, always fascinating to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.